In 2007, the world passed a momentous milestone. In that year, for the first time in human history, the number of people living in cities exceeded that of the countryside. The enormity of this development is hard to overstate. As recently as 1960, the global rural population was double that of the urban. Return to the 19th century, and in most areas, the non-agricultural population was vanishingly small. Travel around this urbanized world, and one will find that the life of humanity has never been more interconnected and uniform. From New York to New Delhi, on every continent and island, in places with histories totally disconnected from one another and teeming with linguistic, religious, and ethnic diversity, one will find the basic pulse of society to be, astonishingly, the same. Democracy or dictatorship, wealthy or destitute, religious or secular, the story goes something like this. A person wakes up, goes to work in some capacity, be it for a local corner store, multinational corporation, state-owned enterprise, illegal or informal organization, or, increasingly, for themselves as a contractor, gig worker, or online personality, and in return receives a wage, salary, or stipend. Using this compensation, they acquire the means to life: food, water, shelter, entertainment, and all other human needs. This class of people, lacking any means to secure their own existence, depend on this exchange for their survival. This group as a whole is called the proletariat. The peculiar form of property which employs this labor of the dispossessed is called capital. Those who own it have been called by various names: engrosser, bourgeois, capitalist. They are distinct from those they employ in that the means of production, the soil, factories, every instrument with which society produces and reproduces itself, are their property. They are the stewards and planners of the accumulation of capital, and utilize the labor of the proletariat to accomplish this task. Only in the smallest, remotest, and most inconsequential outpost do there remain any forms of life which have not been at least partially subsumed into this system of production. Even the subsistence farmer, once the bulwark of the pre-capitalist world, now a shrinking minority, increasingly supplements their consumption with an income from wage labor. These are just a few manifestations of the fundamental changes in human societies which have taken place over the last half-millennium, and which have only been realized globally in the 20th century. They are changes so world historic that some have placed them equally alongside the distant emergence of agriculture, the city, and the state. Taken as a whole, these classes and relations between them make up a form of production and social reproduction known today as capitalism. The evolution of this system has been a historical process and has given rise to the most materially productive society in history. It has also spawned humanity's darkest and most destructive episodes. In the 21st century, global capitalism is confronting its physical limits. Pursuit of infinite profitable growth has stretched the biosphere to the breaking point. As profitable investment in the forces of production has declined in a world already saturated with fixed capital and commodities, increasingly financialized and ephemeral growth spurts have been punctuated by the detonation of asset price bubbles. All the while, GDP growth continues to decline, despite regimes of austerity, intervention by central banks, and the rolling back of regulations and taxes worldwide. The coronavirus crisis and accompanying economic cataclysm is merely the latest sharp drop in a drawn-out process of decline. Since 2018, a wave of social unrest has continued to build around the world. Many areas have been engaged in continuous resistance for periods of months and years, with no signs of abating. These movements have mainly been sparked by price hikes on essential goods, as well as dysfunctional and oppressive legal systems. Almost all of them have quickly grown beyond their initial grievances and have become directed at every facet of proletarian misery generated by the operation of this system. Unprecedented in human history, these leaderless movements on every continent have overtly identified themselves with each other. They have shared tactics as well as an understanding that dispossessed people the world over share a common enemy. Even as global capitalism peers into the abyss, it is difficult to grapple with its vast scale. As a world-encompassing system, capitalism today presents itself as a trans-historical law of nature, with no identifiable beginning and certainly no possibility of coming to an end. Indeed, in the 1990s, many declared that the end of history had arrived. As is clear in 2020, that statement could not be further from the truth, and the need to understand the real historical trajectory of this society has never been more urgent. Choosing a starting place for a system which is the result of all human history is necessarily artificial. Indeed, we can find the first seeds and stirrings of our current world in several times and places. In the Italian city-states of the Renaissance, in the dynamic economy of the Song dynasty in China. However, for one reason or another, be it catastrophic invasion or changing economic fortunes, these upswells retreated as quickly as they came. Only in one place, however, were the conditions aligned for a transformation which could not be reversed, and would in time propagate across the world. We will thus begin our investigation there, in the England of the late Middle Ages.